Hey, family, welcome to the Hype Man channel. You came to be motivated, we came to take you there. So let's grow better, be better, do better. Hey!
Hey!
What's up, y'all? This is Bass I.
And this is Coach Green Gene coming at you.
Yes, sir. Hey, and thank you guys so much for coming. While you are here, and before we get started, stop what you're doing and smash the like button, subscribe. And what if you want to go to the description and check us out on all our social medias if you love what we're doing today. So let's get started, Coach. So, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm glad you asked, but the coach went in this past weekend.
Oh, talk to me.
And you know what? I actually injured my back
Oh,
and had a real serious back spasm. And I wanted to tell and share with everybody the process of how I went through that. Very humbling experience. I told my wife, I said, babe, I said, this particular experience came not only to free me from fear, but to humble me.
mm.
You know, the coach is pretty astute when it comes to taking care of my health, and I was walking around, working, walking on my toes. Felt like I would walk through walls. You know what I'm saying? I said, sometimes you see yourself peeling people off real quick if you have to. Like if the moment arrives, I can do this.
With the quickness.
Hey, I was up here, brother. I was floating, and then and then out of nowhere, I get into training, and I do this move, and felt it, felt the back just shit. I was like, ah, yeah, did a little jelly bean dance, did the snake,
You know what I'm saying? Ooh, oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that lower lumbar,
Oh my.
and so I breathed it off, tried to, put some energy in that, into that lower lumbar region, and what happened is that when you have typically injuries when areas inflame, you put ice in that area for at least 24 hours, and so I did ice it, but going to work, I was wanting to, make sure that, because I'm working at the airport again, O'Hare Airport, and I wanted to make sure that, I could get around, and I got up kind of stiff, and I didn't ice like I should, and
Mm.
I had my wife, Dr. Dula, give me I asked her for a massage before I went. Generally she gives me a massage if something happens to my back or whatever, which is not frequent, but is usually a few days afterward. But she actually massaged it that morning, and gave me a good one that I was asking for, and kind of put that elbow into it, some of that elbow grease, and that night, but it was too soon. And the actual wound was real fresh, and it actually inflamed it more. And I laid and I said, you know what? I think I need to lay down because this thing is bothering me. And I laid in that bed, which was another mistake because it wasn't supporting my core.
Mm.
Man, I was starting to text people and say, hey, I ain't gonna make it today. And man, I was telling somebody I felt like I was having a baby contraction in my back. My back was like, my
No!
back was like, come here, son.
No!
It was a long one too. And I was like, oh, and I was laying in the bed, and I was like, oh, it was still tightening up more. And I was like, oh, I got to get to the floor. And I started rolling out of the bed. And, oh, and of course, I wasn't saying, oh, I was like cussing. I was like, ah. And I rolled to the floor trying to find the spot that I needed to get in and straighten my body up, and get flat so that this spasm. I ain't never felt a spasm like you talking about a brother that was humble. And so immediately, man, I was just like, I was out. And then I had to crawl downstairs, after some time, because I knew, that probably the best thing for me to do is just to be on the floor and get, and just go through my ice treatments or whatever. But that was a whole thing within itself because it was so fresh. Anytime I moved, that back tightened up and it would just grip. It gripped me like this and be like, and then it just keep on, keep on, keep on. And at a certain point, I was like, okay, all this screaming I'm doing ain't helping. So I would just relax because I wasn't used to that extended amount of pain at one time. You know, I just started to breathe through it, which was good practice. I mean, even in your pain, you can learn, right?
Right.
We involve ourselves in a lot of breathing techniques and we learn through, technical training of martial arts, but it's like this was the time for me to really put that to the test, breathing and exercising my chi. And so through one of the pain contractions, the spasms, I did just that. It came and I just laid there and I just breathed through and I didn't try to turn or make anything comfortable until, the pain left. And that was my weekend. 2 days on the floor and ice and heat and meditation. Reiki on my own self using my obsidian stone, my clear quartz stones, crystals, and but went to work today and had some help from Rhonda, which was amazing. Yes. She brought over a back brace reinforcement because she deals with it and some other things. So yeah. I'm on the other side of it, but it was an enlightening experience to say the least.
Man.
So I'm glad I was able to share that with everybody. So
man, first of all, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I was calling, checking up on you, but I just was really thinking like I know you was gonna get through it, but having just gone through my own back injury, I definitely could empathize for how important the back is. Spraining the ankle is like, oh, okay, it's a little inconvenient. Bump your knee, oh, okay, that's okay. Hurt your shoulder, it could be if it's the right shoulder. I'm trying to write and work and stuff, but that back, that ain't no joke, man.
That's where the core is at, man.
Exactly. And speaking of the core, I know that we were going to do some core. We were going to let the folks know about some core exercises they can do in case they hurt their own back. And so very quickly, could you let us know maybe 2 or 3 core exercises that you do yourself? And before we actually do that, tell us the importance of the core in correspondence to the back. Why should you strengthen the core to support your back?
Yeah, the core is kind of like the center mid, the center portion of your body, and that's what helps you stand erect. Your spine, your back erect, and it's the center of your body, and it actually brings everything in. It actually helps support, a nice posture. And so I used to take advantage when I was young of a lot of the moving and working out and running around would actually strengthen my core because I'm out running, I'm jumping, I'm, bending down and having fun. And so the older you get a little bit more stagnant and you're not as active, as you once were. You don't just run to the corner. Now I'm gonna walk to the corner. I gotta run. And you take and you don't jump up just to get leaves out of the gutter and stuff like you go and get you a step stool.
Right.
And so not activating that core, the muscles around the spine, the muscles around the back are not as strengthened, and so you're more apt to finding yourself pulling or elongating or stretching a muscle and twitching it a certain way that causes pain, throwing your back out. I mean, you can throw your back out sneezing, bending around, carrying something wrong, and sometimes that's generated through wrong activities when you're young. Whether you're a carpenter, any kind of profession, you're carrying wood all day, or if you're trying to push your car out of the snow when you're young and you think you real strong, and you put your feet in or put it up on another car and push, and then or you can be in a car accident or anything, any type of accident, any type of impact to that lower region and damage your back, and then that becomes a problem, especially when you start getting older. So that's why it's important that we talk to our physicians, our doctors, or our chiropractors, to give us tips on how to keep our core strong. Because when I would go and get my back worked on, I would get therapy after a week or so. My therapist would have me do core exercises, and I'm like, I just hurt my back. Like, well, the way to get it back, and so that you're back in normal operation, you have to strengthen your core. And so one of the exercises that I was given was you would get on all four, like a cat or a dog, and you would take your leg, of course, within your pain threshold, and just lift it back, and then bring it back up, bring it back down.
So the body would be like this with your head up here, and you be in that cat or dog position like this.
Yep, and then you just lift the one. Yep, you lift the one leg back. Yep, you lift the one leg back up straight, and you bring it back down. And see, that's an important thing that I also knew, but I took it for granted. When you do inflame a muscle, and when a muscle gets inflamed and it's fresh, you relax. You don't go into stretching. You don't go into trying to fix it and rub it and all that kind of stuff. The damage was done. The muscle, my wife gave me a great example. The muscle, what it tries to do is it protects the body. Our body regenerates and heals itself. And when something is gone wrong, then that muscle is going to say, "Oh, I got you, baby. Don't worry about it. Daddy got you." And I was like, "Oh, I don't need you to give me that much." It's like, no, you can't. You have trouble being right, so I'm gonna help you be right. Let me tighten up, here, right here, so I can protect the rest of the spinal cord and the organs. I don't want anything to be damaged. I'm gonna just tighten up right here and be protective. And then I have to talk to my muscle, and I'm like, "Thank you for being protective." So I just try to breathe and calm the muscle down and say, "So we okay. I apologize for being so brutal and not warming up properly like I should have."
Right.
And so I have to bow down and be humble to
right.
and work that process through, and then make sure the next time that I do the proper, making sure that I'm getting my water, all my fluids, cutting out all those sugars and processed food, keep hydrated, warm up, and always have some type of daily ritual or activity that would allow me to, like we talk about, keeping the chakras aligned, intentional breathing, intentional stressing, not stressing, but stretching.
Right.
Because stress and activate that too. Didn't we talk about that a little bit, Imani?
Right.
Stress can activate that muscle and say, "Oh, I need to do some protection, huh?" And your muscles will start tightening up and crystallizing, and it's not fluid and mobile like it should be. And one wrong move, a look back, a sneeze, sitting on the side of the tub and clip that toenail, boop, and that back say, "Slip."
Man, well, thank you for sharing that with us. I gotta say that. Do you real quick, one more exercise. So you gave us one in the cat position where you bring the one leg. Let's give us one more exercise that we should do.
Yeah, let me see here, because like I have a couple of more, but those are the ones you do when you actually weld to actually strengthen
Okay.
the back. I'm gonna give you this one, but this is kind of like more hardcore
Okay.
one. It's like what I do is I get my body in a position, and so you might need an apparatus for this, and I don't recommend this for everyone, but this is something that I do to kind of like strengthen my core. Because what happens, I found out that doing sit-ups is not always the best core exercise, because sometimes you can add more damage to the lower back depending on how many you do. See, we don't always have to be, super GI Joe, because we're causing more damage to our bodies with the number of push-ups for rotated cups, especially if you're not doing your push-ups correctly. So always consult a professional trainer. And it's the thankful about YouTube that they have some individuals that can actually show you different skill techniques of strengthening different areas of the body, the glutes, the hips, the core, with low impact exercise. But what I do is when I'm healthy and I'm strengthening the lower part of my back, is I get um, on a piece of apparatus and I just bend my body, my lower part of my body down, and I grab the back of my head and I just lift up. Like I do it backwards, I lift up. So this would be my head, and I bend down and I lift up.
Kind of like on the edge of the bed, your body
Yeah.
is swinging down. You just
But
allow.
this would be kind of like a table, because the bed would be a little too low. Because I want my whole head, like this would be my back, you know, and then this would be my head, and I would lift up and I bring my head up like this, and then I go back down.
But you just probably need something to counterbalance to keep your feet locked in place.
Yeah, I kind of Coach Green Gene apparatus to be able to do that, and that's a little bit more hardcore. Another thing is the ball. When I was at the chiropractor, they you can get a ball, and again, you have to do this within your pain thresholds. Don't re-hurt yourself. You get on the back of the ball, the large size workout ball, and you could do sit-ups. You could do sit-ups that same way. That's leaning over the ball and coming back like that. Same thing, but you're on your knees, or you're leaning over the ball,
Right.
and with your balance. Some core exercises, they do have chairs now that you actually sit on at work, that are balls that help activate your core. So
Right.
you're not just sitting in a chair and slouching, but you're sitting on a ball type chair where you have you have a correct posture, and activating your core by balancing there on the chair. Other things is they have elevated desks for you to work on, laptops for correct for ergonomic movement, so that you're standing at your desk instead of sitting. Because sitting all the time is not the best posture. So you can actually stand and work on your computer. So you have those lift desks that can
Right.
actually help. That walking around, bending down, those kind of activities help to strengthen the core. Standing up, making sure correct posture, not bending over, slouching, shoulders back, head up. Those kind of things. Another thing to help. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll even add on this for me. In addition to my inversion table that we talked about last week, I have a mechanism that I sit on now when I'm working for long hours. It's called it's one of these sit-in discs.
Oh
And
yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
so it gives
nice.
you the same effect of you sitting on a ball, and it kind of works on your core. But what it also does, it loosens the lower the lower portion of your spine to not keep it too stiff. Because a lot of times when you're sitting down for long times, it smushes the spine down, especially if you're like bigger or heavier. You feel me? And then in addition to the inversion table, that will decompress it from just your own gravity or your own weight. You also can do this to allow it to just kind of just move around and just loosen up to keep that same movement.
So that inversion table, I love that. Can you tell the people a little bit about that inversion table?
Oh, I love my inversion table. I love it.
So what
So,
is it? What does it do?
so basically, what happens is It is a table that you sit, like it is inclined. And so what you do, you're gonna lay on it. You're gonna lay on it with your head here and your feet here. It'll be a mechanism that you just put your feet into. And then what happens is all you have to do is put your hands back like you're on a roller coaster, and it will slowly start to tilt back. And depending on what degree you set it to, it'll start off at maybe 15 degrees or whatever, not, or like 15 degrees based off this line right here, or you can do 45 and you go all the way down till eventually you're doing 90. But you don't start 90, but over time, it just allows you just to like go back and just hang, and you're just basically hanging from your feet. And so the beautiful thing about it is it just stretches your entire body out from your ankles all the way down to your head, like to like the top of your head, and everything just gets pulled apart. But you're allowing gravity to do the work instead of you actually having to somebody have to pull on you and tug on you to get you right. You just allow gravity to do what it does. And so I personally love it. Like I'm an engineer, so the math behind it and all that, just the fact that you can just literally put your hands back and it naturally tilts back. And if you tilt your hands up 1 inch, it'll start to come back up a little forward. I love how the science behind it and all that works. But I absolutely love my inversion table. But today has been very much about back spasms, back and whatever not. So I do want to bring this up as well. Like for me, who is still partially recovering from mine, I'm about 90 to 95%. What would you recommend for somebody who just needs that little bit of extra oomph, who just to know you're at 100%? Because it's not like immobilizing, but it's just that little bit of like, hey, I want to be 100%. What can you recommend to help get the person to that point?
A couple of things. One, a lot of water, and I get that from now. The funny part, I get that from your youngest brother. He's like, Dad, you got to make sure you're drinking your water. You're drinking your water. We have to stay lubricated. The other thing I would say is intentional breathing. I didn't realize, until I really went on this journey of pranayama, how important the intentional breathing was to the aspect of any and everything that I do.
Yes.
So the benefits is that when that inversion table, you're strengthening and stretching out the spine, which is that central nervous system, and it's the central core is where all the communication happens throughout your whole body from your nervous system, that spine. You open that up, you open up pathways of oxygen to oxygenate the blood all between the joints and ligaments, and that water helps lubricate it. We're 75%, we're a heavy percent of water. So the water, along with intentional breathing, does wonders.
Right.
And again, the other thing that I add to that is the neem and the turmeric, those herbs, in small amounts. And so all of this that we're talking about, we have to make sure that we're consulting physicians, professionals, to make sure that we're working within our body, because what works for my body or for your body is different. So that's why I want to make sure that we're handing out recommendations for you to seek good counsel and good instructions, and because it's important that you slow walk these particular things into your life, so it works well with you. But the neem and the turmeric, they're anti-inflammatory, I think I shared this before. It's a cleanser. And it not only cleanses your gut, but it actually, any type of infections or anything that's going on in the body, it clears and cleanses the body, and also spiritually, it cleanses and centers your spirit. It gives you that strength to cut out, different urges for sugars and different foods, because it's a bitter herb. And so it has so many different benefits to the blood, to the oxygenation that's happening inside the body. It's a great healing tool. But when you're talking about getting your back to 100%, I think those small things, of course, the working out and the stretching and this, that, and the other, but with the water and the intentional breathing, the eating correctly, and then those herbs is what helps sustains a prolonged, you hear me, Imani, a prolonged situation where it will also allow you to listen to your internal self. Because what I may tell you may not be for you. I realize that with the intentional breathing and these herbs, that I find myself getting in a place to be a lot more quieter so that I can hear my internal self say, hey, you shouldn't do that. Or, hey, you should consider reading this book or listening to this video or doing this thing. And those are the answers that I need, or I find myself at the right place at the right time, around and see something, which in another place I might have missed it because I fell asleep because I was so tired. I just finished eating a big chocolate bar and cookies, and I just missed what I was supposed to get. But the alertness to be in tune, with the frequencies and vibrations that should help your chakras to be in line and to be flowing the way they need, so that you're, this vessel that's in tune with with the universe.
100%.
So I hope that helped.
No, 100% it really did. And so before we close out today, I want to say, everybody, I know we've been talking about a bunch of different products, inversion tables, inflatable sitting disc, Neem, turmeric. Don't worry, everything will be in the description below. And while you're down there, just a reminder. First of all, thank you for sitting with us through this video. But also, like and subscribe. It's right there. It's right there. The red button. Click it. And so I want to say thank you all so much for coming. Once again, I'm Bass Simon I. This is Coach Green Gene. Tell them, Coach, where we can find you at.
And WeBuildLegacy.com. That's me and the wife. And then also CoachGreenGene.com. You can find me. What about you, Imani?
Man, you can find me at Bass_I'm_I on almost any platform, especially Twitch. I stream daily. And so if you love it between the time of 5 and 7 p.m., even today, come on to my Twitch channel, Bass_I'm_I. I do Magic the Gathering gaming and also music. So come on through and have a great time. Peace.